Most men are taught to navigate the world as a series of straightforward transactions and logical problems. They are raised on a diet of direct communication, where a person's word is their bond, and honesty is expressed plainly. This worldview serves them well in many areas of life and business, in friendship, in tackling tangible challenges. Consequently, when a man enters a relationship and a woman tells him she desires love, care, stability, and respect, he accepts this information at face value. He interprets these terms through his own linear lens. Love means consistent affection. Care means providing and protecting. Stability means reliability. And respect means acknowledging each other's worth. He believes that if he can diligently supply these ingredients, the recipe for a successful partnership will naturally follow. This approach, while noble and grounded in good intent, misses a fundamental dimension of human interaction, one that is often more pronounced in feminine social and relational psychology. Women don't just inhabit the literal world of spoken words. They are simultaneous citizens of a far more nuanced and unspoken realm. This realm operates on a currency of subtlety, implication, and emotional signaling. It's a world where what is not said often carries more weight than what is, where actions are frequently not just actions but symbols to be decoded. For a mind wired for directness, this can feel like a foreign language without a dictionary. The hidden game is not, for the most part, a malicious or consciously orchestrated plot. To frame it as such is to misunderstand its origin. It is rather instinctual and deeply rooted in a complex interplay of evolutionary psychology, social conditioning, and emotional intelligence. It is the behavioral manifestation of a constant, often subconscious, process of assessment. Because women have historically borne the immense biological and social burden of choosing a partner who can not only provide but also protect and lead under pressure, their assessment mechanisms evolve to be more holistic and less literal. A direct question like "will you remain strong in a crisis?" can be answered with a yes, but a test that creates a small crisis reveals the authentic, unscripted truth of his character, the great disconnect. And the source of immense confusion for men lies in this clash of operating systems. The man is playing a game of checkers on a board where the woman is instinctively playing a multidimensional game of emotional chess. He reacts to the move she made, while she is observing the strategy, the poise, and the unshakable nature he displays in response. When she creates drama, he sees a problem to be solved. She, however, is not focused on the problem itself, but on his reaction to it. Does he become emotionally flustered? Does he try to logic his way out of an emotional situation? Does he lose his center and start seeking her approval? His confusion is a signal. His calm detachment is a signal. His ability to lead the emotional climate rather than be victimized by it is the entire point of the exercise. The cruel irony is that a good man, armed only with his honesty and linear thinking, will often fail these unannounced tests. He fails not because he is weak or unloving, but because he is blind to the very nature of the test. He is trying to answer a question he never heard, in a language he doesn't speak. He pours more and more of his genuine effort into the explicit requests, wondering why his earnestness is sometimes met with withdrawal or dissatisfaction. He is left feeling drained and manipulated, not by a mustache-twirling villain, but by a dynamic he cannot perceive. He is funding a game with his energy, a game he doesn't know he's playing. And the inevitable result is a slow erosion of his confidence and a deep-seated bewilderment about what women truly want. The first step out of this labyrinth is not a tactic, but a realization. The arena of the relationship has a hidden layer, and to navigate it, one must first learn to see it. The practice of testing is perhaps the most fundamental and confusing tactic for a man to encounter. A woman will rarely directly ask, "Are you confident enough to handle my emotions without being swayed? Or do you have the resilience to stand firm under social pressure?" Instead, she will instinctively create a scenario that simulates that very challenge. She might initiate a low-stakes argument over something trivial, not to debate the topic itself, but to observe whether he becomes flustered, defensive, or seeks to pacify her by surrendering his own leech on. She might briefly withhold affection or praise to see if he remains secure in his own value. Or if he immediately begins to seek validation from her, thereby transferring the power of his self-worth into her hands. The man interpreting the situation literally will often dive into solving the surface-level problem, the topic of the argument. The reason for her coolness with logic and earnest effort. In doing so, he fails the test, not because his solutions are bad, but because he missed the true objective, to demonstrate emotional stability and self-contained confidence. The test was about his frame, not his problem-solving skills. Closely related is the phenomenon of emotional projection. This occurs when a woman, grappling with her own difficult emotions, unconsciously attributes them to her partner. If she is feeling a surge of insecurity, she might suddenly accuse him of being distant or neglectful. If she is feeling guilty about something, she may become hypercritical, framing him as the one who is failing or inadequate. This is not typically a calculated act of lying. In the heat of the moment, her emotional reality feels like objective truth. Her feeling of neglect becomes his act of neglect. For a man who operates on the principle that words correspond to factual events, this is profoundly disorienting. He will scramble to defend himself, to list all the ways he has been attentive, to prove her accusation wrong. But he is arguing against a feeling, not a fact, and in doing so, he only validates the power of that feeling. He finds himself trapped in a debate where the rules of evidence do not apply, leaving him doubting his own perception of reality. Another powerful tool in this dynamic is the strategic use of scarcity and silence. A woman intuitively understands that perceived value increases with perceived unavailability. Therefore, pulling back, delaying responses, or creating emotional distance is often an instinctual move to recalibrate the power balance. When she goes silent after a disagreement, or becomes less available, the man often misinterprets this as a sign of disinterest or at the beginning of the end. In reality, it is frequently a calculated pause designed to force him into a state of uncertainty. This uncertainty triggers anxiety, and that anxiety compels him to chase. He texts more. He tries to fix things. He invests more emotional energy. This reaction is precisely what the tactic is designed to elicit. His increased investment deepens her leverage. As he is now demonstrating that his emotional state is dependent on her actions, he is being conditioned to seek her approval, all while believing he is fighting to save the connection. Finally, the leverage of comparison and jealousy is a sharp and subtle weapon. Rather than openly complaining about a lack of effort, a woman might casually mention how her friend's boyfriend surprised her with a romantic getaway. She won't explicitly say, "Why don't you do that?" But the comparison hangs in the air, planting a seed of inadequacy. She might talk about a male coworker who is so funny and charismatic, not to announce an affair, but to create a silent, low-grade competition. The man, taking her words at face value, might dismiss it as simple sharing, but subconsciously, he feels the pressure. He begins to compete with these phantom rivals, working harder to secure her favor and prove his superior worth. This tactic is brilliantly efficient because it requires no direct demand. It simply lets the man's own insecurity and competitive drive push him into a cycle of constant proof, draining his energy while she observes the lengths he will go to for her validation. To view the tactics outlined in the previous chapter as mere manipulation is to miss their deeper psychological roots. These behaviors are not arbitrary. They are effective because they tap into fundamental, often primal, drivers of human psychology, creating powerful feedback loops that are difficult to break with logic alone. The hidden game persists because it works on a subterranean level, shaping attachment and perception in ways that defy straightforward intention. Central to this dynamic is the potent addiction to emotional contrast. The human nervous system does not form its strongest attachments during periods of steady, consistent peace. While stability is a conscious goal, it is the cycle of tension and release, of uncertainty and reward, that carves the deepest grooves in the psyche. This is the same neurological principle that underpins gambling addiction, the intermittent reinforcement of not knowing when the next win will come be. A burst of affection after a period of coldness, or a reconciliation after a fight, is far more compelling than a predictable, constant payout. The emotional roller coaster creates an intense bond, but it is a bond built on a foundation of instability. A man caught in this cycle will often mistake the dramatic highs and lows for passion and depth, not realizing that he is becoming chemically addicted to the uncertainty itself. He is not chasing the woman so much as he is chasing the resolution of the anxiety she strategically induces. This process is profoundly aided by the weaponization of perception. A woman who is adept in the hidden game understands a crucial truth in the social and emotional realm. Perception is not just reality, it is power. The one who controls the narrative controls the outcome. This is why, during conflicts, the focus can shift so dramatically from the actual issue to the story being told about it. She may frame a man's healthy boundary as an act of cruelty, his need for independence as neglect, or his logical defense as emotional invalidation. The goal is not to describe events accurately, but to shape the emotional field in a way that positions her as the victim or the righteous party, thereby obligating him to make amends. This narrative control is a devastatingly effective tool, because it operates in the court of social opinion and his own conscience. He finds himself apologizing not for what he did, but for how he was perceived. A battle that can never be won because the goalposts of perception can always be moved. The ultimate mechanism that locks these dynamics in place is the strategic induction of guilt and the shifting of responsibility. A man is often socially conditioned to be a protector and a fixer. He is wired to solve problems and bear burdens. The hidden game expertly exploits this wiring. By framing her emotional state as a direct consequence of his actions or inactions, she can make him feel responsible for her happiness and well-being. If she feels insecure, it is because he didn't provide enough reassurance. If she is unhappy, it is because he is failing in some way. Once he accepts this premise that he is the primary author of her emotional world, he is trapped. He begins to walk on eggshells, preemptively modifying his behavior to avoid triggering her disappointment. His energy is diverted from building his own life to managing her emotions. This is the core of the control mechanism. It transforms his innate desire to care and provide into the very engine of his own enslavement. He is no longer a partner. He has become a prisoner, diligently maintaining the walls of a cell he doesn't even know he's in, all under the guise of being a good man. While the psychological underpinnings of the hidden game are ancient, the modern world has provided a suite of powerful new tools that amplify its reach, intensity, and efficiency. Technology and contemporary social norms have not created these dynamics, but they have supercharged them, creating a landscape where the unspoken arena is more vast and confusing than ever before. The digital realm, in particular, offers unprecedented opportunities for the tactics of testing, scarcity, and narrative control to be executed with surgical precision and plausible deniability. The most significant modern amplifier is, without a doubt, social media. It has transformed from a platform for connection into a curated stage for perpetual performance. Every post, selfie, story, and song lyric can be a calculated move in the hidden game. When a woman feels a man pulling away, she doesn't need to confront him. She can simply post a series of images from a night out with friends, projecting a life of fun and abundance that exists without him. A cryptic, emotionally charged caption is rarely just an expression of feeling. It is a broadcast designed to provoke a specific reaction, usually a concerned or jealous direct message from her target. This allows her to administer tests and create emotional contrast from a distance. Observing his response, without direct engagement, the man, seeing these curated glimpses, mistakes the performance for reality. He believes her life is genuinely as vibrant and independent as it appears, deepening his anxiety and his urge to chase, all while she effortlessly gauges his level of investment from her smartphone. This digital stage also normalizes and weaponizes its ambiguity to an extreme degree. In the past, communication had more defined boundaries. Today, the lines are intentionally blurred. The arsenal of vague, non-committal phrases. "I'm not looking for anything serious right now. Let's just see where things go. I'm really busy with work," is employed not for honesty, but to maintain maximum control with minimum accountability. This strategic ambiguity keeps a man in a state of perpetual uncertainty, preventing him from feeling secure enough to set his own boundaries or make demands. He is left decoding the meaning of a delayed text message or a period of online silence, investing immense mental energy in a puzzle designed to have no solution. The power remains firmly in her hands, as she can always claim he was overthinking or being needy, thus reframing his legitimate desire for clarity as a personal failing. Furthermore, the digital age has systematized the concept of the backup option or the arbiters. Social media and dating apps provide a constant, visible stream of alternative validation. A woman can maintain a roster of admirers liking their comments, responding to their stories, keeping friendly connections warm under the guise of harmless social networking. For the man in a relationship with her, these are often dismissed as just friends. But this network functions as a silent insurance policy. It provides her with a steady drip of external validation that diminishes her dependence on any single man's approval, gives her the confidence to be more demanding or detached within the primary relationship. The cruel realization for the man often comes too late. He was investing his entire emotional capital in a partnership where she was diversifying her portfolio, ensuring she never faces the true vulnerability of being alone. This hidden safety net fundamentally alters the power dynamic, making his genuine investment a high-risk venture while she operates with a guaranteed safety net. After navigating the disorienting tactics, understanding their psychological roots, and witnessing their amplification in the modern world, a man arrives at the final and most critical crossroads. The instinctive reaction is to fight fire with fire, to learn the rules of the hidden game and become a better player. He might try to manipulate back, to play aloof, to administer his own tests. However, this path is a trap. It merely keeps him within the arena, draining his energy and corrupting his character in a battle of wits he never wanted to fight. The true path to sovereignty, the only way to genuinely win, is to refuse to play the game at all. This is not an act of surrender, but one of profound strategic elevation. The cornerstone of this approach is the unshakable maintenance of one's own frame. Your frame is your personal reality, the constellation of your values, your self-respect, your boundaries, and your purpose. When a test arises, be it manufactured drama or strategic silence, the goal is not to pass it, but to not recognize it as a test. This means refusing to become emotionally flustered by chaos. It means not chasing after withdrawn affection or validation. It means hearing a comparison to another man and feeling no internal pressure to compete, because your self-worth is not up for debate. A man grounded in his frame does not react. He responds from a place of inner stability. He observes the emotional storm without feeling compelled to step out into the rain. This grounded indifference is not coldness. It is the ultimate display of strength, signaling that your emotional state is self-generated and cannot be manipulated by external tactics. This refusal to engage collapses the game's fundamental mechanics. The hidden game is a system designed to function on the fuel of a man's reactive energy. His anxiety powers the scarcity principle. His desperate explanations feed the guilt-shifting dynamic. His competitive jealousy validates the leverage of comparison. When that fuel is removed, when his energy remains calm, self-contained, and directed toward his own purpose, the entire structure grinds to a halt. The woman who employs these tactics is suddenly faced with something unfamiliar and unnerving, a man she cannot control. This often triggers a extinction burst, a final, more intense series of tests to see if his frame is truly solid. If he remains unwavering, the power dynamic irreversibly shifts. Herein lies the central paradox of the hidden game. While it is played to secure control and validation, it secretly cultivates a deep respect for the man who demonstrates he cannot be controlled. The chaotic emotional cycles may be thrilling, but they are not the foundation of genuine respect. What she ultimately craves, even if she cannot articulate it, is a man whose center of gravity is within himself. A man who does not flinch at her tests proves he is not dependent on her approval for his sense of self. A man who refuses to be guilt-tripped demonstrates he has stronger boundaries and a clearer sense of reality than she does. This is the man she fears losing, not because he plays the game well, but because he represents a level of integrity and self-possession that is inherently valuable and rare. By stepping out of the arena, he ceases to be a player and becomes the prize. His strength no longer comes from defeating the game, but from having the wisdom and will to transcend it entirely, rendering its manipulations irrelevant through the sheer force of his own unshakable sovereignty.